So why music? For me, there's so many ways. When I was a first year teacher, there aren't a lot of things I would say I was super proud of what happened in my class. I was using this ancient textbook. I didn't really enjoy what I was doing, but the one routine and the thing that I started doing that continued throughout my whole teaching career was music, and using authentic, current music to engage students. I've later realized a lot more reasons, being able to provide that authentic representation of target cultures. So what I'm mostly talking about here are using authentic songs. I know there are some created ones that are more for teaching a language, but that's what I'm specifically referring to. Actual music videos from YouTube. That's what I'm mostly using, which will help keep your class current, relevant, fun. Also, I think what's great about it is you can add it to any curriculum. I have used music with my old En Español textbook. I used it with an Avancemos textbook. I used it with my own curriculum. And so this is something that even if you're set in a pretty rigid structure of things that you are supposed to cover, things that you need to do, there are little ways that you can bring music in for your own personal enjoyment and for the enjoyment of the students. And it could mix up, and you can do it with any level of any language. Music is universal. Also, you can exposure to new genres and artists. I know some people are pretty stuck in like, yeah, I use music. And I really love these 3 songs from when I studied in this country 20 years ago, 15, whatever. And those are the 3 songs I use every single year. Yeah, that might work for you. But I would suggest and maybe push you a little bit to try something new, try a new genre too. I know we tend to use what we enjoy. And so if you listen to pop music, you're probably going to show a little bit more pop music. If you like classical, that might be more what your students do. But I would encourage you to try out different things, not only for yourself, but for your students. Remember, you have a wide range of interests. And so helping them to see themselves in your class, see them represented in your class, as also a great way to learn geography of the world that you are teaching, all of the different diverse places that speak the language that you are teaching. Also, just to hear all those different accents and slang and regional variations in authentic context. And so when students hear vos being used in Argentina, you can bring up, what does that mean? And would you possibly hear that when you're in Spain? Or, all of those regional variations in slang that, help teach you. You don't have to be an expert at any of it, but then you can look up together like, okay, what do you think that phrase works? Also getting an interest in the target language music. So that way, hopefully, one of my goals is that students will like the music enough, they will add it to their own Spotify playlist, their own YouTube playlist, and they will listen to it on their own, meaning they will be getting input of the target language for fun on their own. And that's kind of the goal, right? And also just excited to come to class. Sometimes with weekly routines or with special music activities or brackets you're doing, students are excited. It's a reason that they want to come to your class. They want to be there because they want to vote for that, or they don't want to miss the music day because that's their favorite day of the week. So I think another great way, not just why, but I've realized in the last couple of years is that music is a really great way to show representation in your classroom. And so just a side note, we know that we should be using diverse everything year round, highlighting people of all different cultures year round. But if you are realizing that maybe you haven't done as great a job of this, looking at some of the different heritage months and things is a great way to make a point for yourself that you are going to highlight certain things. And this could be using music, this could be using other authentic resources, but I think music is kind of a good gateway into this to celebrate and honor diverse people. And so here are just a few, and this is, from Google. If I'm wrong, I apologize. This is just what from my research. And I know there are more groups that aren't included. And I would love if you would tell me if there are other months, or I know there's a lot of special days too, but I was kind of trying to get times of the year, depending on what you teach. But also, I would challenge you to, just because you're a French teacher, it doesn't mean that you can't highlight some Hispanic heritage, I'm sure there are some, there's intersectionality with all of these different cultures. Just because you teach Spanish, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't recognize or encourage Asian and Pacific Islander Month, because there are Spanish speakers of Asian and Pacific Islander descent that you could highlight in your classes. So I would just challenge you, don't only talk about people who are of African descent who speak French during February, but you should for sure make sure that you are representing them, encouraging them, making sure students understand. I know, for example, I have a slideshow of music that's all specifically Afro-Latino, and I did a song a day during February for Black History Month. And I had a student who then said, I never realized, but actually I never heard that term before, but that's me. My mom is of Mexican descent. My father is African-American. I am Afro. And so she was really grateful to have kind of discovered, she saw herself in class, she realized, and she was very appreciative to be able to learn about diverse things. So I think this is a really great way to show representation, but in a positive way, using, and this is a way, seek out resources to make sure that you are using positive representations of the target culture always. So how do you find music? I think that's a question I get a lot, but how do you find music? And that's why I think people get stuck in using those same songs that they used. For example, in my first Spanish class in college, I had a teacher who every day to wake us up, we would sing along with the song of the week. And they were her favorite songs, the songs that she used to learn Spanish. And so it'd be like, we were singing along to Shakira, 9 a.m. every morning, or to Juanes or other things. But I think if we get stuck in those, our students are missing out on opportunity for more of a variety, diversity of music that you could be using. And so I think one where to start is ask, look at other teachers who in your discipline who are teaching your language and see what they're using. Look for their YouTube playlist, their Spotify playlist. There's lots of them. If you Google beginning French song playlists, you can find them. Ask your friends. Also look on social media and connect with, I know there's a lot of different resources as well. I know, for example, there's a whole group of French teachers specifically with their, I don't want to say that, I'm going to butcher it. They're like Music Wednesday group where they share songs and resources. And so finding those to connect and get resources with others is great. Once you have those playlists, then go off the suggestions. A lot of the ones that come up with me is when I'm just listening. I think I'm one of the only people, I don't really use Spotify. I still old school, use YouTube. And when the suggestions come up, it's like, oh, you might like this. I'm like, oh, you are correct. I do want to hear that new song. They're smart. They know what you listen to. They know what's on your list, and they will suggest new music that is related to that. And then you just add them to playlists. I have so many different playlists going all the time that when you hear a good song, add to the playlist. Checking out Billboard or other hit lists from other countries. So look up, what are the top songs right now in Germany? What are the top songs right now in China? For different genres, not just pop, but look at different genres of music that are currently popular. But then obviously with those, you have to do a lot of sifting and finding things that are appropriate for school. That's why it's really great to find great playlists that are already curated by teachers, because then even though you still want to always check, because I know what I have shown, I always share music that these are things that I would actually show in my classes. And I've taught anywhere from 7th to 12th graders. And these are things I show. And I've even taught in a private school, but I guess the private school I taught at maybe wasn't as conservative as some, because I've had some people very upset at songs that I've used, but you have to make it work for your students, your situation. I know everyone has a different situation, what their comfort level. And I know the comfort level is different. For some people, it's more about the lyrics, especially if you have native speakers of that language in your room who catch on to little things in the lyrics that a non-native speaker of level 1 might not catch. For some people, it's the clothes, like if there's a belly button, they can't use that video, or they don't show videos at all. And that's fine. You have to make it work for you. Checking out the radio list from around the world. If you click this radio around the world, you can put in a certain place, a very specific place. You want to hear what is on the radio in Zimbabwe. And there you go. Listen to that radio, use that in class. Also award show song list. I know it's kind of hit and miss. It depends. We all know that what wins the awards isn't necessarily what's popular, but sometimes that is a good way to look on those specific genres, and you can see what in the folk music from the Latin Billboard Award won, and pulling those in, checking them out. Also, just getting suggestions from your students, especially if you have students who get really into music, they start making their own playlists, they're discovering their own music. Ask for their suggestions, especially if you have students who have already had an interest. If they already listen to J-pop music on their own, get their suggestions of the best songs, just giving them also the parameters of, that you're wanting the clean music that you can show in class. But get suggestions. It's okay to crowdsource, have every student submit a song recommendation that they would like to see used in class. And that can be a really great relationship builder if kids come in like, oh, I have a song for us to use that I want you to look at. But then I would recommend previewing it yourself before you just pull it up on the board, because I've done that. Not always the greatest choice, because what a high schooler said, oh, show this song. And then you realize, oh, that one shouldn't be on the board. So always preview.